Welcome to one more game. My name's Eddie, and today I'm counting down my picks for the top 10 cards for a Myrkul, Lord of Bones commander deck. For this list, I'm looking at the cards that I feel best synergize with Myrkul, Lord of Bones. Myrkul, Lord of Bones is a 7/5 legendary god that costs 4 generic mana, a white, a black, and a green, and he reads, as long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Myrkul, Lord of Bones has indestructible. Also, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment and loses all other creature types. What cards do you think will synergize the most? Let me know down in the comments below. Number 10, Anointed Procession. Anointed Procession is an enchantment that costs 3 generic mana and a white, and reads, if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. This card is an excellent card with our commander. First off, it's an enchantment, so it's going to synergize really well with an enchantment theme for this deck. In addition to that, it's copying tokens. It's making extra tokens. How amazing is that? If we're already making tokens with our commander, making more tokens, it's only going to help us to win the game even faster. Number 9, Viscera Seer. Viscera Seer is a 1/1 vampire wizard that costs 1 black, and it reads, sacrifice a creature, scry 1. It's a sacrifice outlet. It's a free sacrifice outlet. Yes, you got to pay to put it into play, but you don't have to pay to sacrifice your creatures. This is amazing in this deck. It's going to synergize so well with that dice trigger. We're going to make so many tokens just by killing off the creatures that we already have on the board. Number 8, Archon of Sun's Grace. Archon of Sun's Grace is a 3/4 Archon that costs 2 generic mana, a white, and a white. It has flying, lifelink, Pegasus creatures you control have lifelink, and Constellation. Constellation reads, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying. This card is amazing with our commander. We are playing enchantments. This is going to be an enchantments build. So let's throw in cards that synergize with that. Cards that make tokens for every enchantment that you play. That's going to help us to win quicker, and it's going to synergize with our other cards, similar to Anointed Procession. This card's just amazing. Number 7, Doomwake Giant. Doomwake Giant is a 4/6 enchantment creature giant that costs 4 generic mana and a black, and has Constellation. Whenever Doomwake Giant or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Yeah, it's a one-sided board wipe. This is great. If you've ever played an enchantments build and you're running black in it, you already have Doomwake Giant, so you know what this card can do. Clear out your opponent's creatures. With the tons of creatures that you're going to be creating, you're making an open lane just to take out your opponent. Number 6, Sphere of Safety. Sphere of Safety is an enchantment that costs 4 generic mana and a white for creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. You guys have seen Propaganda. You guys have seen Ghostly Prison. Check out Sphere of Safety. If you are running a ton of enchantments in your deck, which in this deck, of course, we will be, run this card. This card is amazing. It's going to stop your opponent's creatures from being able to come in and deal damage to you, and it's going to give you some more time, some more cushion to be able to build up your board state and take them out yourself. Number 5, Citizen Champion. Citizen Champion is a 1/3 human warrior that costs 2 generic and a green and has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Citizen Champion and draw a card. Yes, we have an Enchantress. The purpose of these cards? Draw. Citizen Champion does just that, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we sacrifice it to one of our sack outlets, like, I don't know, Viscera Seer, we can get a copy of this card onto the battlefield that's a token and an enchantment itself. Yeah, this card is amazing. Play this card, draw a ton of cards, make them grow, and swing in for the win. Number 4, Devoted Druid. Devoted Druid is a 0/2 elf druid that costs 1 generic and a green for tap, add 1 green, put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid, untap him. Ever wanted to be able to make infinite mana? Yeah, this card is insane. So we can tap it a couple of times, let it die to its own -1/-1 ability, tapping and untapping. And then when it comes back, it becomes an enchantment and loses all other creature types. All other card types per Myrkul. That is just amazing. That means we're going to be able to create infinite green mana with just 1 card. That kills itself. It's absolutely amazing. Yes, definitely run this in this deck. Number 3, Sterling Grove. Sterling Grove is an enchantment that costs a green and a white and reads, other enchantments you control have Shroud. You can also pay 1 and sacrifice it to search your library for an enchantment, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. You want to protect all of your enchantments? This is the way that you do it. And just when you need that card that's going to help you to win the game, you can tutor. Yeah, that's right. It's a tutor on an enchantment. All you got to do is sacrifice it, pay 1, and go find whatever other enchantment that's in your deck that's going to help you take care of the game. Number 2, Eidolon of Blossoms. Eidolon of Blossoms is a 2/2 enchantment creature spirit that costs 2 generic mana, a green, and a green. And it reads, Constellation. Whenever Eidolon of Blossom or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This card is nuts. Yeah, we talked about Citizen Champion. This card's even better. When it enters the battlefield itself, it draws a card. And then on top of that, when you sacrifice it to something like Viscera Seer, that token that enters the battlefield is going to draw a card. And then every enchantment that you're putting out onto the battlefield after that is going to draw you a card. This card's just nuts. Before I unveil my top pick, here are some honorable mentions. First up, we have Second Harvest. Second Harvest is an instant that costs 2 generic, a green, and a green. And for each token that you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Yeah, you thought your board was good? What if you could double it? This card's crazy. Definitely deserves an honorable mention. Honorable mention number 2, Ajani's Chosen. Ajani's Chosen is a 3/3 cat soldier that costs 2 generic, a white, and a white, and reads, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white cat creature token. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. So this card's awesome. Creating a token for every creature that we make is awesome. It's not as great as our Pegasus, but it's definitely still good and definitely deserves an honorable mention. Honorable mention number 3, Destiny Spinner. Destiny Spinner is a 2/3 human enchantment creature that costs 1 generic and a green and reads, creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. You can also pay 3 generic and a green. Target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is the number of enchantments that you control. It's still a land. Need a big beater on the fly? Turn one of your lands into one. This card is great. It can also stop all of your stuff from getting countered. Well, most of it, your creatures and enchantments. Definitely deserves an honorable mention. Now, before I continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Wondering what the top card to play in a Myrkul Lord of Bones deck is? Here we are. Number 1, Sanctum Weaver. Sanctum Weaver is a 0/2 Dryad that costs 1 generic and a green and reads, tap, add X mana of 1 color where X is the number of enchantments you control. Yep, this card is nuts. So you thought it was something that could be gotten rid of easily? Sure. Let them destroy your Sanctum Weaver with Myrkul on the battlefield. Myrkul's just going to make a token that's an enchantment and can only die to enchantment removal. Whoa, this card is crazy. Yes, Sanctum Weaver played in this deck. It is without question the number 1 card that should come to mind when you think of Myrkul, Lord of Bones. Do you agree with these picks? Let us know down in the comments. Also, check out these other recent videos from One More Game and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.